Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 4th of May, 2021. I'm Pearson Bowen with the CBC Morning Report. While pockets of COVID-19 cases identified across the island remain a concern for authorities, there is no need to reinforce any restrictions at this time. This from Minister of Health and Wellness, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, during Monday evening's COVID-19 update and news conference. He says Barbadians, though, must keep doing the right things for the country to achieve herd immunity.
What we are seeing is an improvement in the overall situation in the country, but there are still what they call pockets of resistance, and resistance which we must pay close attention to. At this time, the world, as you know, is going through a very serious moment with the pandemic. We are improving in our situation, as I said, but we still have COVID in Barbados. And I believe one of the things beyond everything else that we have been able to do and we will continue to do going forward is the fact that we must strive very hard to reach herd immunity in terms of having the percentage of our population vaccinated that would allow us to do this. Because once we've been able to do that, combined with all of our other efforts, this would allow us in this country to be able to return to a state of normalcy of some sort, but not only to return, but to sustain that. Because what is happening here is that, yes, we are approaching the 25 per 100,000 of population, which is the target, but once we've achieved that, and we will, then we have to be able to sustain that. And we are only going to be able to sustain that by continuing to do the right things, each and every one of us. The Prime Minister would have said on several occasions that we have a gas and brake policy in terms of where we are going, in terms of the measures that we are going to implement, and we've been implementing. This is a concern, but it's not a concern that would cause us to have to go backwards in terms of restrictions. We will continue on the current path where that is concerned, but it is a reminder to all of us that COVID is still in our communities, even though in pockets of communities. And so we still have to do what we must, which is to continue to unite to fight the virus.
Well, as far as the recent cluster at the Psychiatric Hospital is concerned, the Health Minister says there has been progress in arresting that situation.
The situation at the Psychiatric Hospital internally is under some measure of control, and I say some measure because we still have to await the second test. But from the first test, we are satisfied that we've been able to do a level of containment that is necessary. And what we are working on right now especially is to be able to complete that process within the psychiatric hospital and also tighten up on all of the loose ends in relation to outpatients who we are contacting and trying to trace to make sure that we could wrestle this problem to the ground.
And Director of the Psychiatric Hospital, David Leacock, says the patients on the ward in the question and the staff who worked on it at the time of the cluster have all been tested, while the second tests are due to be done today.
We have tested all 82 clients on the ward in question. There's all 25 staff for that ward. Those 25 staff are now currently in government quarantine facilities, waiting their second test, and that should be completed tomorrow. Those 82 clients I mentioned are also going to be tested tomorrow for their second test as well. The other wards mentioned, Minister, we have at this time also tested all the clients on 4 other wards, with the exception of one client who declined to be tested. That one client who has declined will be maintained in isolation or social quarantine until such time as 14 days have passed that we can be sure she's no longer infective. All other persons I mentioned have been tested, and those tests have all returned negative tests at this time.
Well, testing and contact tracing are also underway for 24 patients discharged from the Psychiatric Hospital's Ward A from April the 1st. A community mental health nursing team has also been deployed to make contact with 5 clients who are yet to present themselves for testing. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, more COVID-19 updates. The death toll from COVID-19 in Barbados is now 45. The news was revealed by Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic during yesterday's media briefing.
The deceased is a 63-year-old male who was admitted to the Harrison Point Isolation Facility on the 23rd of April and subsequently intubated and ventilated for 6 days.
COVID-19 cases on Sunday, the 2nd of May, taking the tally to 3,881 cases. Minister Bostic says the cases are linked to the Psychiatric Hospital and a St. Michael family.
Of the 15 positives, 3 are from the Psychiatric Hospital, 2 male inpatients and 1 male outpatient. The positives also include a family of 8 from a St. Michael community, and this is following another family member who had tested positive earlier. This is indeed of great concern to the team, and contact tracing is now in progress.
Laws will go into effect on Saturday, and for the first time, they'll make a distinction between vaccinated and unvaccinated visitors. During the latest episode of COVID Queries, Chief Product Development Officer of the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, Marcia Aline, explained the new rules.
The fully vaccinated person is someone who has gotten both shots of their vaccine, or in the case of Johnson & Johnson's, their 1 shot. And so in the case of Pfizer, Moderna, or the AstraZeneca vaccine, that they've gotten not just 1, but both shots of those vaccines, and that they have been, they're not due to travel before 14 days has elapsed after they've gotten the 2nd jab.
Ms. Ali also explained how the ministry would verify if the visitors are indeed fully vaccinated.
Various source markets will have their various types of vaccination cards. And so what the Ministry of Health is actually doing is reaching out to all the various source markets so that they have a national process, and they know nationally what the vaccine card is supposed to look like, whether it's automated or it's actually a physical card. And they have already done that level of validation so that when the person shows up at the airport, they already know, and it's the Ministry of Health who will be doing the validation, whether or not this vaccination card or process is legit or not.
Further restrictions have been announced in Trinidad and Tobago as authorities there fear the healthcare system could be overwhelmed within 7 to 10 days. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says in addition to a partial shutdown outlined last Thursday that lasts until the 23rd of May, with effect from midnight last night, all food services, including street food sales, will be discontinued. Dr. Rowley has encouraged citizens to stay away from others, with only essential workers or those seeking essential services allowed on the road. All non-essential retail trade in Trinidad will also be discontinued for now, with only businesses like pharmacies, groceries and hardware stores allowed to operate. The country is currently having a 35% positivity rate, and the latest figure from the Ministry of Health shows active cases at 2,536. The healthcare system has a maximum of 542 beds in 7 hospitals across Trinidad. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has warned of the possibility of a mandatory vaccination program. This as he criticized people who were encouraging others not to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Speaking on his radio program Brown and Brown, the Prime Minister noted the pandemic has had a tremendous impact on the island's socio-economic development. He says if herd immunity is not achieved in around the next 60 to 90 days, Antigua will suffer. Prime Minister Brown described the hesitancy and reluctancy by some to get vaccinated as totally unacceptable. He says while authorities have been trying to avoid introducing a mandatory requirement for vaccinations, if they have to, they will. The World Health Organization is reviewing 2 vaccines made in China for emergency use worldwide.
It's become a way of life around the world for more than a year now. Face masks, lockdowns and closed borders. And many countries are still battling the spread of COVID-19, some with record numbers of infections and deaths. With an easily transmittable virus that knows no boundaries, vaccines have become the main focus to effectively slow down the surge in new cases. China, where the virus first surfaced at the end of 2019, has been developing and administering several vaccines, but they have yet to be approved by the World Health Organization.
To have the vaccines approved by WHO would be one of the indications of a rising power or this rising application and influence in global politics.
According to China's foreign ministry, vaccine assistance is being provided to 80 countries with exports to more than 40 others. But it is eager to get WHO approval for the 2 Chinese vaccines. It would open the door for overseas travel, although with caution. As the inoculation efforts step up, around the world, vaccine approvals could be laying the groundwork for what could be seen as a global vaccine roadmap, where the shot you get could determine which countries you can travel to. The European Union is considering a vaccine passport system where only certain approved vaccines qualify, which means those inoculated with the Chinese-made doses would be barred from entry.
China is now so integrated in global market and also global trade. Without the vaccine being approved, it could be possible that the flow of capital, the flow of labor, and also investment that China has overseas and foreign investment into China will all be affected.
But experts say approval could also pose a dilemma. Once China formally joins the global supply chain and collaborations like COVAX to supply poorer countries, it will need to ramp up production. It then has to fulfill international commitments and its own domestic targets. So far, not even 20% of China's 1.3 billion people have been vaccinated.
Well, coming up in just a little while on Morning Barbados, you'll get to hear the full story of a man who now stands tall in spite of his limb loss. Torian Clark will join us. He'll share his full story, and it's one that will grip you. So we invite you to stay with us for that. Also, we look at the value of sport and how one young man has used his skill in sport to now leverage himself as a professional and is doing great things for others as well. A young Barbadian overseas. We get to meet him. Our agent Sharita will join us this morning as we take a look at real estate agents and the value of working with valuers and those in the real estate agencies across the island. So that and a whole lot more when you join me right here on Morning Barbados. It's now 15 minutes after the hour of 6. We're back with more on the Morning Report. Apart from a few issues, yesterday's resumption of face-to-face classes in schools for select year groups got off to a relatively good start. Rianne Phillips visited a few schools and she now has this story.
Hugs and kisses from parents, temperature checks and sanitizing at gates were common scenes in front of schools as students resumed face-to-face classes. Here in the Pine around 8 a.m., students were seen making their way to Parkinson Memorial, and just next door, the open campus was also a hive of activity as Wilkie Cumberbatch students relocated there as renovations at their Pine compound continue. Many are welcoming the return of face-to-face instruction, while others still prefer the online formats.
I feel good because I get to see my friends.
I feel like with online, like I could get at a certain time and also early morning and like move at my own pace, but still get into my classes and stuff.
I feel good to be back because it's better face to face than online. Online was a little difficult.
To be honest, I'm glad we start because the online ain't working out so good. Something is getting on, something it ain't working, you know. I'm glad that we start. Hopefully it will run smooth. And she will catch up because she's doing the 11+.
I'm ecstatic. That's the only way to put it. I feel as if I myself am coming to school today. Because for me, this means a 4-year-old, no more online classes with him for now, a 7-year-old as well, and then I have the 11-year-old that's here, right? And they really need to do the face-to-face with the teachers.
However, it was not smooth sailing at the Combermere School in Waterford. Students were sent back home after 9 due to lingering ash on the compound. Parents and students were disappointed that today's face-to-face classes were called off.
Kind of disappointed because I woke up super early to get ready for school and then I didn't have face-to-face, so I feel like if it just wears the school uniform, but it's fine, it's fine.
It's a bit surprising because as soon as I got to Warren's, I realized I was getting a call from my son saying, come back for him. He's ready. He just told me that there's ash in the school or something like that.
Later in the day, Education Minister Santia Bradshaw and her team, who were making the customary rounds for the first day, stopped by that school.
We had some challenges at the Combermere School. I think the challenge there was that there's a number of the windows, which in the last few months we've been looking at in terms of repairs for security reasons. Some of the other windows on the other floors would have had some cracks, and as a consequence, even though the school was clean, a lot of the dust came back into the classroom. As a consequence, the teams are on site at the school, so I regret the inconvenience for a number of parents and the students and teachers who had to go to school today. But some of these things are not going to be avoidable, and therefore we've given the commitment that we're trying our best to get the schools ready at least for tomorrow. So I believe a team is going to be in tonight, but you can listen out for an announcement later in terms of the exact time for the start of school.
Another stop on the tour was Springer Memorial.
We would have had a very productive day. We had the 5th and the 6th formers. They will have come to the campus today, along with colleagues who are responsible for teaching in the senior school. And as I said before, we had an excellent rollout. The students were happy to be back. Colleagues were happy to be back as well.
Education officials also visited Luther Thorne Memorial, listening to the experiences from students and staff. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Barbados now has a new national people development policy for 2020 to 2025. This was revealed by Prime Minister Mia Amar Motley during her address of the launch of the jointly sponsored National Transformation Initiative and Coursera Partnership for Skills Transformation in Barbados. Ms. Motley says the crises of COVID-19 and the recent ash fall will not halt progress of the retooling, empowering, retraining and enfranchising of Barbadian workers. She reaffirmed the government's commitment to the reprogramming, while noting the people development policy complements the strategic priorities of the NTI.
It means that we must use this period of disruption, of crisis, to learn the skills that we need to make us globally competitive star Bajans. And all of us know what it is to be a star. It means we must continue to have and do the following things. We must have confidence with a mindset of excellence and integrity, fairness and honesty and transparency. We must have active team players who can communicate effectively, not speak for the sake of speaking, but who understand that communication is about people understanding what is being said on both sides. We must have engaged learners with a passion for lifelong learning and a sense of responsibility. You can't stop learning along this journey. And believe you me, you have to take responsibility in life and not only talk about what rights are yours.
Director of the National Transformation Initiative, Dr. Alison Leacock, says the NTI's mandate to retool and upskill the Barbadian workforce for global excellence is wide-ranging.
Improving our country means improving ourselves and the lives of others. Whether it is the inclusion of people with disabilities, our creatives, workers in the BEST program, training beach monitors, or this new and exciting journey we begin today with Coursera. I have the honor and pleasure of leading a small and hard-working team that demonstrates their commitment to improving us as a people and as a nation. The NTI team is leveling up to ensure we model the transformation we want to see.
Video game publisher Epic Games is in court with technology giant Apple over the iPhone maker's decision to remove popular virtual game Fortnite from its App Store. If Epic wins, Apple might be forced to change its operating system software and business practices that some developers say have made the Apple Store a de facto monopoly.
Epic is trying to ultimately break the iPhone maker's grip on its App Store. It accuses Apple of abusing the App Store monopoly and charging too much in commissions, though Apple, of course, denies that. The dispute began last August. It's all about the video game Fortnite. Epic is the developer of that game and accused Apple of charging high fees for having its game on the App Store. Epic Games then updated Fortnite to allow users to make payments directly through the game, circumventing the need to use online stores. Within hours of the move, Apple and Google Play, which was also affected by the update, removed the game Fortnite from their stores. Apple says there is no room for negotiation. We've got Ina Fried with us now, Chief Technology Correspondent for Axios, joining us from San Francisco. Nice to have you with us. Ina, what's your initial take as this court case begins about who's got the upper hand, if either side does?
Well, I've listened to the arguments for both sides, and they're the same arguments that they've been making all along. Interestingly, there isn't a lot of disputes about the facts of the case. The time frame you laid out is exactly what happened. Really, the question is a question of law, of whether Apple can do what it does, which is to say, if you want to have an app on the App Store and if you want to sell digital goods or services, you have to use our payment mechanism. Apple says it should be within its rights to do that. Epic says we should be able to offer an alternative payments. And despite all the smoke and mirrors, at the end of the day, most of the case boils down to that. Now, I do think that... oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking that is Apple's prerogative, isn't it? I mean, I think about the same things with Twitter and Facebook. If you don't like their terms and conditions, then you're not under any obligation to use it.
Well, that's certainly the case that Apple is making, is saying, look, there's plenty of competition when it comes to where you want to play games. When people buy an iPhone, they're choosing our way of doing business. And if they don't want to do our business this way, they can go to an Xbox or a PlayStation or a PC or an Android phone. Epic is saying no, that the market in question here really should be the iOS market, and we should be able to deliver services to the iPhone using our own payments. Now, I will say that most legal experts think that Epic has an uphill fight in this, that Apple probably has stronger legal ground, but Apple has more at risk too. Epic isn't suing for money here, it's suing to fundamentally change the way Apple does business.
In sports, yesterday's Indian Premier League match between Kolkata Knight Riders and Royal Challengers Bangalore was postponed after 2 KKR players tested positive for COVID-19. 2 bowlers have tested positive, while the rest of the KKR team, that includes Sunil Narain and Andre Russell, tested negative.
This is footage of the Knight Riders team travelling to Chennai earlier in the competition. Cricket's most lucrative league has been carrying on with games taking place without fans. Well, as you've been hearing earlier in the news hour, the COVID situation in India is dire. The country is approaching 20 million cases, with 368,000 reported in the last 24 hours. Cancelling the remainder of the league could have massive financial implications. Last year, it was estimated that not staging the IPL would cost the Indian Cricket Board more than $500 million. The BCCI.
Take a look now at some forecast conditions as recorded at the Met Office here at the Grantley Adams International Airport. Outside is looking slightly hazy, a little bit overcast, so we encourage you to be cautious as you head about today. It's going to be a good day nevertheless, I think, as winds sound a little bit breezy, so it's going to be a good day. Partly cloudy, windy conditions prevail over Barbados at the moment. The temperature 27 degrees Celsius, the winds coming from the east-northeast at 32 kilometers an hour. We have a low tide scheduled for 5:06 this afternoon. First high tide at 7 to 10 this morning, the next at 4 minutes to midnight. Seas today are predicted to be calm to moderate in open water, swells ranging as high as 2 meters but steady. Barbados today forecasts a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. And for tonight in Barbados, a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. Over the Lesser Antilles, today and tonight, fair to occasionally cloudy with brief isolated showers. I'll look now at some international forecast conditions. And that's it for today's edition of the Morning Report. I'm Pearson Bowen.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Barbados for today, Tuesday, the 4th of May, 2021. Great having you company. Those of you here in Barbados or anywhere else in the world who's watching us on our Facebook stream, on our Facebook account, CBC Barbados, or if you're on our YouTube channel as well, Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. Great having you company this Tuesday morning. Now, coming up today, we'll get to hear the full story behind what's happened to this young man. He's quite young, Torian Clark, and how he stands tall, still living with his limb loss, but what a story he has to tell of inspiration. Stand by for that. We'll get to meet a young man who, through his football scholarship, has done some great things with his life. And now he's himself looking back to make great things happen for other young Barbadians as well. So those are just two of the great stories we'll share with you this morning right here on Morning Barbados. But let's get started by looking at education. And we're joined this morning by the President of the Barbados Union of Teachers in Pedro Shepherd. Good morning to you, Mr. Shepherd.
Good morning, Mr. Boeing. How are you this morning?
Very well today. How do you do?
I am fine. I'm great.
Good. Good to have you. Glad that you've accepted our invitation to join us. I want to start by looking at this return by some to face-to-face classes. What is the union's assessment of day one?
I think we can assess day one of the return of face-to-face as not, I wouldn't say smooth, but for those who had the opportunity to be on the plant, things were relatively okay. There were some schools, of course, that had challenges with their plant in terms of still having ash furniture not fully in place and so on. But teachers are welcoming the return to face-to-face. I think that it is something that teachers enjoy. The online teaching has its benefits, but of course, it also has its challenges. And teachers were actually looking forward to the return of face-to-face. We were not looking forward for it this soon, but in light of what is transpiring, we are trying our best to see how we can get the face-to-face going.
When you compare what is happening now and the situation, the matters put in place by the Ministry of Education, and with what you have been agitating for prior to now, how many of the items that you would have been asking for have been met by the Ministry of Education?
I think the Ministry of Education is trying its best to ensure that the supply of PPEs are available, that the sanitation stations are in place, and where construction has to be done, that those are constructed. I believe the challenge really for the Ministry of Education in this situation, though, is space. And I think that is one of the challenges that teachers are having, being able to use the space within the plants to have the 6-foot requirement. We noted that the ministry has shifted to a 3-foot requirement of late. I suspect that was in a move to accommodate more children. But that too has its challenges because our school plants were never built with anything like this in mind. And so our classrooms are really built for no more than, I would say, 20 students. So the challenge that we have in our schools now are to find the space to accommodate a class of, let's say, 25 to 30 students. It means that you will have to split classes, or you'll have to do what we tried previously, which was a blended approach, where you bring half of that class to school on one day, the other half remains home online, and you interchange. I would want to say, though, that going forward, I believe that we have to seriously look at our school plants to ensure that the roles are brought down. Where we have to increase the number of schools, we would have to do that, because, like I keep saying to the Ministry of Education, COVID is going nowhere, and we cannot continue to compromise the education of our students by having them either online or using the blended approach. Our students really need to be back in face-to-face. Our teachers really would love to be back in face-to-face. And so that is where the challenge is, creating the space within our school plants to allow for our students to be at school full 5 or 6 hours per day.
Can you identify for us what you see to be some of the gaps in learning that our students might have experienced as a consequence of the way formal training was interrupted?
The major challenge is being able to cover the requisite topics, to be able to cover the syllabus, and to get through that adequately. Prior to COVID, we have always had challenges in getting through the syllabus. teachers have always had to rush the syllabus in order to cover it. And we were asking for some reform in that area for, I believe, decades now. I don't know if this is the opportunity now that the ministry is going to use to reform the syllabus. There is now a reform committee formally in education, so maybe that would be looked at, the syllabus and the curriculum, and see what it is that we really need in our schools. The online teaching, because of the limitations, would not even provide, let's say, a quarter of the time to cover the syllabus. And in particular, our class 4, our 5th forms and our 6th forms are challenged with the common entrance and the CXC exams now, where a lot of the syllabus has not been covered, and students and teachers are now scrambling and grappling with the fact that exams are imminent. And I don't know where we are going with this one, but we are hoping for the best. We have approached CXC at a local level, BSTU, CUT, BUT. We have all approached CXC to see how we can modify the exam so that our students can have a fair chance. We have been asking at the primary level for the common entrance to be adjusted and for it to be put in place. So there are serious challenges in education, and I believe that this, I always felt that COVID provided us with the opportunity to do the necessary reforms we need to have in education. So let us see how best we can now adjust to this situation.
I'll just put that to the side for just a moment. I want to get back to the physical return of face-to-face classes. And we heard in one of our reports from our reporter, Rianne Phillips, of there being some schools that have not been retrofitted sufficiently to prevent the blowing in of the dust as a consequence of the volcano eruption. How many schools, from your estimation, from where you as a union head sit, would be so severely impacted by those kinds of environmental conditions that will prevent proper learning?
I think a number of schools have been impacted. We got reports from Graydon Sealy. We understand that is covered with ash. I don't know if the cleaning was not done at that school, because the Ministry of Education started cleaning about 2 weeks ago. Some of the contractors, I believe, got their contract signed a little late. So most of the cleaning started last week, which in my view was a bit late, even though we were of the view that really the ash situation needed nature, the intervention of nature really to deal with it, because the situation was that you had to get rid of ash from all the vegetation around schools. You had to get it off the roof, you had to get it off the gutters, and then you had to come down. So I witnessed last week some schools being, I would use this term, being bathed for the first time, because you had to then wash them from top to bottom. You could not simply use power washers or whatever to clean from windows, desks, and come down. You had to start from the roof. And so schools up to yesterday were still impacted with the ash. A lot of ash is still in the atmosphere, Pearson, and that will continue to pose a challenge for us. I believe that only rain can give us the opportunity to really get back into the schools and to be settled. I noticed yesterday cleaning was done, and within maybe about 5 minutes, if you pass your hand over the desk, you still had evidence of the ash. So that is something that we have to grapple with. And the health and safety of students, teachers, and ancillary staff will be a matter for us. So I don't know. I would want to ask my colleagues in education, I would want to ask our Ministry of Education, I want to ask our parents to assist in getting this cleaning done. I don't think the 2 or 3 janitors within a school is going to be able to do this job. It is something that would have to be done throughout the day for a while, but we have to start somewhere. And I think that to get back in and start is what we would have to do at this point in time. If there extra cleaning to be done, then the ministry would have to see how best it could employ persons to come into schools and assist the janitorial staff and the general workers and so on with cleaning. But we are hoping that it is not to the extent where it affects those students or teachers who might have asthma, or those who might have allergies with the skin and so on. We're hoping that it is not to that extent. But where it exists in schools, we're asking the health and safety committees in schools to be very vigilant and to bring it to the attention of their principals or the Ministry of Education as soon as possible.
Speaking of health, there's also the pandemic, the COVID-19 situation in Barbados as well. How comfortable is the union with the return to face-to-face classes in the face of there still being some active cases of COVID-19?
Well, that has been a bugbear for us. During the last 2 months or so, we were trying to impress upon the ministry that in light of the community spread, in light of the clusters and so on, the lack thereof of vaccinations, at least for the second dose, we were recommending to the Ministry of Education to have a September start. But I believe the Ministry of Education has its mandate, and that is to provide education for the students, the children of Barbados, and so they thought it best not to wait until September for full return, but to see if they can have some gradual or phased in return of students for this third term. But teachers are very much concerned at this stage about the COVID-19, the presence of it within our communities, within our country. And we're just praying and hoping that bringing students together in this format, having them on public transport to and from school, having them not adequately, let me put it that way, supervised during the school day. Teachers will supervise in the classrooms. We have people who will supervise on the playing field, but it is going to be extremely difficult to supervise 3 to maybe 800 students at any one time in our schools. So we are very, very cautious. We are hoping that this return is a safe return because we've always been asking for a safe return. So we're hoping that this is a safe return and that we do not have any cases of COVID in our schools, because we really cannot deal with the COVID and the ash at the same time. It is really difficult to have the influx of ash on top of the COVID situation.
All right, you spoke of education reform and informed classes as well, so we will talk about that after this commercial break. Thank you so much for staying with us. Hold on just a moment. We're right back after this.
No problem.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 15 minutes to go to 7 o'clock. If you've just joined us, we're happy to be joined this morning by the President of the Barbados Union of Teachers, Pedro Shepherd. We're looking at education today with yesterday's return to face-to-face classes for some at some schools across the island. Now, before we went to break, you did mention education reform, and I do know that someone has been appointed to see after that. And so a committee is in place to begin discussions at looking at how we can adjust our curricula to be able to respond to what's currently needed in our schools. What are some of the things that you think should be the primary focus of that reform committee?
I think the primary focus on the reform has to be, first of all, looking at we have to look at the curriculum. We have to determine what is needed in our curriculum, what can be shed. We need to look at the syllabus to see if the syllabus is really relevant to what we are doing today. I think there are a number of areas that we can probably remove from our syllabus. There are a number of areas that we might also want to add, but education has to be fit for purpose. I think we are producing a lot of students who, at the end of the day, after spending, let's say, 14 years in our education system, still cannot find a job. And so we have to adjust the curriculum, adjust the various syllabi and so on to ensure that at the end of their education journey, that they can find a job. We have to determine how many lawyers are required in the country, whether or not we can export lawyers. We need to find out how many doctors are required and whether we can export. We have a situation in Barbados where we constantly hear that there's a shortage of nurses. Shouldn't we now look at preparing our students to go into the area of medical, in the area of health? For example, how is our community college, the nursing section, dealing with preparing or preparation for our adults to go into the nursing field? We talk about agriculture, we talk about using technology in agriculture. Is the education system really preparing our students for that? So I think the focus has to be 10 or 15 years down the road and to see what it is that Barbados needs in order to go forward, and then to structure the education system to cater for that. We just saw the influx of technology in order to do the online teaching, the online learning. Now, if we are going back face to face, what is going to become of all the technology, all those devices that we have brought into the country? Are we going to reform education to include the use of technology in our classrooms? We tried the EduTech program sometime back in, I think, 2000. That failed to some extent. Now we have an opportunity to integrate technology into our schools. Are we going to really take this opportunity to reform education so that we have that integration of technology? Are we going to look at the school day and move away from a static 9 to 3 and see how best we can utilize the hours within a day? I believe that we have to move to a shift system in Barbados so that we can, and we have to look at, instead of talking all the time, we have now to be able to create our schools of excellence and so on. We have to look back at zoning. I mean, there are a number of things that we have to look at, and we cannot look at them in isolation. We have to look at them as a collective in order to come up with the strategy going forward. But I think that the education system, taking, I think it is the largest share of our national budget, really has to step up to the plate and to produce students who are capable of taking on those jobs, those challenges that are faced not only in Barbados or the region, but worldwide. And we know that we have been educating persons in Barbados who have gone abroad and who have done well. And maybe somewhere along the line, we started to lose our focus, and we need to get back on that path where we produce world-class citizens in Barbados from our educational system.
There's some of the view who think that education today is simply about preparing students for an examination, a test, after which, well, you pass, if you fail, you fail, and that's it, and you move on. How much of that perception needs to be debunked in this whole move towards education reform?
I think a lot of it, I think we have to really do a lot of work on educating our parents and educating society that it is not all about common entrance, it's not all about CXC. I think that we have to look at producing students with skills as well. As students come into nursery and reception at the primary level, people start to look to see whether or not they can enter Harrison College, Queen's College, Combo-Mayor. And children are at lessons now from infants A. Some even start their children at reception because they are pushing towards an examination. Some of that emphasis is lost at the secondary level in the early stages, but of course, by the time the students get to Form 3, then they get back into the mode of doing exams early in Form 4 and continuing in Form 5, hoping that by the time they reach 6th Form, they're able to do get eight grade 1s in one sitting, and maybe 2 or 3 grade 2s with that. Nobody expects to get a grade 3 and so on. And so I think that we really need, though, to let children know that in any society, in any country, there is need for everybody. What we have to teach our students, and I always try to do that, is to teach children that every job is important, and that there are some jobs that we might want to scorn, for lack of a better word, that is really critical. People may look down on a sanitation worker, but the day that the sanitation workers decide that they're not being paid enough or they're not treated well by the citizens of Barbados and decide that they're going to sick out or not work, what happens to our doctors, our lawyers, our teachers, our
yes,
what we may call high-end or so workers, So I think that what we have to push is to encourage our children to do their best, and once they do their best, I believe that we need to congratulate them and let them know that every job has its high points, every job has its value, and that it needs everybody really to make a society. All of us would not learn at the same rate, all of us therefore would not achieve at the same level, and that is something that we have to push to our children, so that children would not become frustrated when they believe that others are forging ahead and they are lagging behind. And our schools of excellence, I believe, would be able to target those students at the bottom end as well, so that they too can be pushed in the areas of, let's say, some skills that have more carpenters, more auto body persons here, have masons that are world class, welders that are first class. We now see
skilled artisans, yes.
Yes, skilled artisans. I think that's what we really need. It would also assist us in reducing our import bill, because we don't repair cars in Barbados anymore. We scrap cars as soon as there's a rear end collision and so on. Why not allow persons to be able to repair these cars? Most cars come down now computerized. Why not teach our students at the Samuel Johnson Prescott Institute to deal with these computerized cars and so on?
Right.
These are some of the challenges we have had. I think we have had workshops at Princess Margaret and St. Leonard's in terms of this computerized technology stuff, but how much has gone into it? Are the labs really functioning? I'm not even sure.
Okay. Quickly, is the 11 plus still relevant?
I don't think that the 11 plus as it is relevant, but what are we going to replace it with is the challenge. And I believe that we have to take a number of factors into consideration when we're looking at the 11 plus. Should we really do a one-off exam, or should we have what is called continuous assessment of our students? Do your testing maybe from infants B right up to class 4 and simply accumulate those marks and then transfer students. We have a situation in Barbados where every primary school child in class 4 can find a place in the secondary school. So why torture our students with what we call the one-shot exam, the common entrance exam, where we have students, for example, who may be relaxed during the first 3 or 4 years of their schooling, but by the time they reach class 3, then we realize, both teachers and parents, that these students now have to be pumped, literally pumped, in order for them to succeed. Why not just work with the children at their pace, identify their weaknesses, identify their strengths, and work with them, and have a system of continuous assessment where they are then transferred to secondary school? I don't think that the common entrance exam is really what is required. It has, to me, outlived its usefulness. We spoke about zoning in Barbados. We have to look at that as well, and we also have to look at zoning and the common entrance in relation to the pandemic. Why must we now have students moving from St. Philip to St. Lucie, having to travel on public transport and so on with the presence of COVID? These are things that we need to look at, and parents need to understand. And we keep saying at the level of the ministry that all schools are equal, but then we still in another breath say, well, Harrison College is going to take the cream of the crop, and then we come down to Queen's College and Combermere and come down the line. So those who go to Princess Margaret really don't think that all schools are equal.
Yes, yes.
While though Princess Margaret and St. George Secondary have teachers who have gone on to do their doctorates and so on. So I think the ministry has a tough job ahead of it in terms of the distribution of teachers, looking at their academic qualifications and so on, and seeing how we can really make true what we say about schools in Barbados being equal and providing the same level of education throughout our system, mixing our students.
Yes, Pedro Shepherd, we got to leave it right there. But thank you so much for joining us on Morning Barbados this morning for such a wide-ranging discussion as well. We wish you well and your union with everything going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Likewise. Let's take a look at our good decision of the day. Today, brought to you by Glucerna with those nutrients to support your immune system. Our good decision today says, factor in follow-up. Remember that whatever decision you make isn't the end of the process. Always also implement. It's important to take the time to follow up on your chosen actions. Did they turn out as expected? Did you meet your objectives and arrive at your goal? If there's a decision you're likely making again, is there a way that you can improve upon it? Can you revise the current action to make your choice better? Just factor in follow-ups in making your good decision of the day. Brought to you by Glucerna with those nutrients to support your immune system. A break. When we come back, an update on news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 30 seconds away from 7 o'clock here on Morning Barbados. Time for you to be updated in news. The death toll from COVID-19 in Barbados is now 45. The news was revealed by Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic during Monday evening's COVID-19 update and media conference.
The deceased is a 63-year-old male who was admitted to the Harrison Point Isolation Facility on the 23rd of April and subsequently intubated and ventilated for 6 days.
The health minister also revealed Barbados recorded 15 positive COVID-19 cases on Sunday, May the 2nd, taking the total to 3,881 cases. Minister Bostic says the cases are linked to the Psychiatric Hospital and a St. Michael family. While pockets of COVID-19 cases identified across the island remain a concern for authorities, there is no need to reinforce any restrictions at this time. The health minister says Barbadians must keep doing the right things for the country to achieve herd immunity.
We must strive very hard to reach herd immunity in terms of having the percentage of our population vaccinated that would allow us to do this. Because once we've been able to do that, combined with all of our other efforts, this would allow us in this country to be able to return to a state of normalcy of some sort, but not only to return, but to sustain that.
Barbados now has a national people development policy for 2020 to 2025. This was revealed by Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley during her address of the launch of the jointly sponsored National Transformation Initiative and Coursera Partnership for Skills Transformation in Barbados. Ms. Motley says the crises of COVID-19 and the recent ashfall will not halt progress of the retooling, empowering, retraining and enfranchisement of Barbadian workers. She reaffirmed government's commitment to the RE program, while noting the people development policy complements the strategic priorities of the NTI.
It means that we must use this period of disruption, of crisis, to learn the skills that we need to make us globally competitive star Bajans. And all of us know what it is to be a star. It means we must continue to have and do the following things. We must have confidence with a mindset of excellence and integrity, fairness and honesty and transparency. We must have active team players who can communicate effectively, not speak for the sake of speaking, but who understand that communication is about people understanding what is being said on both sides. We must have engaged learners with a passion for lifelong learning and a sense of responsibility. You can't stop learning along this journey. And believe you me, you have to take responsibility in life and not only talk about what rights are yours.
Well, that's our news until now. We'll have more news coming up at 12 noon in the CBC News Day. Still to come on Morning Barbados, however, we will share with you some great news with the Barbados Estate Agents and Valuers Association. Who are they? Just what is it working with them? Or how can you benefit from doing so? All that and more straight ahead. But after this break, you'll have your Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Approaching 5 minutes after 7 o'clock, time for today's Crumbs question of the day. You get now on the phone and you give us a call on 228-5562 or 228-5563 to see if you can correctly answer today's Crumbs question of the day. And today's Crumbs question of the day is a bit of a riddle. I have shelves, but I'm not a bookstore. I have a door, but I'm not a cupboard. I have a light, but I'm not a lamp. I contain food, but I'm not a grocery store. But I am the coolest. What am I? Let me say that for you again. I have shelves, but I'm not a bookstore. I have a door, but I'm not a cupboard. I have a light, but I'm not a lamp. I contain food, but I'm not a grocery store. But I am the coolest. What am I? Do you know? Answer that question correctly and you could be a winner today with Crumbs. Remember to call us on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's see how really good you are. What am I? What am I? What am I? Figure it out and let us know. All right, let's go on now as we meet now a young man who is really doing great things. One of our young people on the island who are achieving and continuing to achieve. His name is Trey Hines. And right away when you say that name, I'm sure a number of you are going like, hey, Trey. Good morning to you, Trey.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
First of all, thank you for repping in the back, right behind you there, that Barbados flag. That must mean a lot to you, right?
Oh no, always repping Barbados no matter where I go.
Wow. And where you are now, you're at Wayland University, is it?
Yeah, Wayland Baptist University here in Texas.
So let's talk about how you got there. I'm told that you were one of those who came through the Barbados Soccer Academy. So you were really good, not just at track and field, but also good at football.
Okay, so during that time, I was still playing both soccer and track. Barbados Soccer Academy did help me in numerous ways in terms of scholarship, but all praises have to go to Wabisco Stars and specifically Jerkston Clark, because I was a double scholarship winner, and my first scholarship was in track and field.
So your first scholarship was in track and field, but you also got a scholarship in football, so the opportunity to go to Wayland was real. And while at Wayland, what were you doing? What were you studying?
Business administration, specializing in economics and finance.
How did you do?
Well, I graduated the spring of 2019 with honors. I think my GPA was a 3.8. Had a really successful career at the undergraduate level at Wayland.
And did you get a chance that while studying also engage in those sports that you enjoy?
Most definitely.
How was it?
Well, definitely an eye-opener. A little different over here in the States, but nothing that anyone can't adapt to.
A little birdie told me that you just finished your master's and you just recently graduated. That must have felt like a weight lifting off your shoulders. So when did you graduate?
Well, exactly last Saturday, actually. Graduated last Saturday.
And was any Barbadian there with you to watch you walk across to receive your your scroll?
Well, I actually had another Barbadian, Elizabeth Williams, that also ran track. She graduated as well, but it was only me and her.
Just the two of you. How did that feel? Know that, you know, among all of those, there was only just one. How did that make you feel?
To be quite honest, it was not intimidating, just because I had already set my eyes on bigger goals, and the graduation to me was just a stepping stone or just a ceremony to get to the next level.
So now you have your master's. Your master's is in?
Business administration, specializing in general business.
Right. I want you to speak to me now about the value of sport in education, because a lot of times, you know, there are parents in Barbados who think that sport is just a pastime, but I don't think you quite see it that way.
Definitely not. Well, for me and a lot of other Barbadian athletes, I am testimony to see how far sports can get an individual. Me personally, I don't think I was the strongest student at secondary school, if we're being completely honest. But I was able to use sports as an avenue to gain my education. Actually looking into doing my PhD in a couple of months.
All right. So, I mean, even that, you haven't even stopped. So sport was able to propel you in that kind of way. And I'm told that you're also now reaching back, because it's not just about you. You see the opportunity for others to be able to not simply follow in your footsteps, but to attain their own best selves through sport. So what are you doing now?
So currently, well, not currently, but I am in training to become a recruiter. And June 6th is my first day of being an official student recruiter. Admission rep, enrollment coach. There are several names that a lot of people have for them. And with my job, I have a bunch of information that I think would be helpful to a lot of Barbadian athletes.
What kind of information would that be?
Just general information that myself, I didn't know coming over here as an athlete. Just some pointers where you could get scholarships, grants, and stuff like that. The best avenue you could take to get to being graduated, actually.
So help me for a second, because there was you at Queen's College and you're passionate about sport. You said earlier, you said it, you didn't think that you were one of the best students, but yet still you thought you did well enough. And so you saw a goal in mind, not just in football, but you thought you had something to do, to offer, to be. How was that discussion with your parents so that you got them to be convinced that this is something that Trey Hines is passionate about and Trey Hines wants to do?
Well, actually, it wasn't much of a convincing for my
Mhm.
parents. My parents were always on board. They always supported me 100%. I always had a great support system in terms of family and friends, coaches, whatsoever. And from a very young age, they told me, either in soccer and later on in track, they told me, I really think that you'd be good enough to get overseas and get to college and stuff like that.
See, but you're fortunate to have had that support from your parents. But there are some boys and girls today who do not have that same kind of support. What would you say to them?
Well, honestly, to those that don't have the support that I have, I would say you have to find your reason why. And then just hold on to your reason why, and that will motivate you and strive and help you to strive for everything that you want in life.
Find your reason why, and that will propel you from there going forward. Now, while there at Wayland University, how did you, apart from the flag in the back, how else did you think you identified as a Barbadian?
Well, according to my American colleagues, every Caribbean person has this type of swag to them. Immediately, a lot of people, before they even hear me speaking and stuff like that, they'll be like, I don't think you're American, where are you from? And coming along in the sports and stuff like that, that's how I identify myself as a Barbadian. And I also just continuously rep my country, as you can see, flag in the back.
Yeah. So it's just by the way you moved, they recognize right away you're not an American, you're definitely from somewhere else. And then you said to them where you were from. What does it mean to open your mouth and say, I'm from Barbados?
Honestly, it just shows, for me at first, they looked at me, well, I saw them as foreigners, and obviously they're going to see me as foreigners.
Yes.
They had so many questions, even the silly questions. They just wanted to know more about me. They were just intrigued that I was from a small. When I first spoke to them, they couldn't understand me, and I've kind of developed this American accent just because I got tired of hearing "What did you say?" and having to repeat myself 6 and 7 times.
So there you are now. You fit in somewhat. Somehow they understand
Yes.
you now.
Yeah, they understand me, but they still say I have this persona, or the way I carry myself, this that.
What's your view, Trey, when you're there and you're looking back at Barbados and Barbados track and field, Barbados football. What's your view of what we do here, and what do you think we still need to do to be better?
Honestly, that there are multiple athletes still at home that are capable of doing great things over here. I think the biggest problem that we have is not having enough exposure.
Mm-hmm. So how can you help those who are here gain that exposure?
And not only myself, but I think other Barbadian athletes over here, they play a big role in letting people be known. So for instance, other foreign countries, specifically from my experience, like guys from Africa and guys from Jamaica and stuff like that, they are always telling the coach about, hey, I have this athlete back at home. He does XYZ sport and he's run XYZ times, or he's this player. And just that simple looking, because the coaches down here, they probably get roughly 150 to 200 emails from athletes. And it's going to be difficult to go through each and every one and evaluate each and every one. So if an athlete over here, or even myself, tell a coach, well, I have this athlete, can you take a look at him? Then the coach will actually set aside a time to look at the athlete. And at that time is just for the Barbadian athlete to basically market himself as best as possible.
Sounds good. Sounds like a really good opportunity, and I'm sure that because that opportunity was afforded you, you're now looking back to afford others the opportunity. Your brother, talk to me about him, because he now too has taken it up. He's following literally in your footsteps.
And yes, my personal experience with him, it was much easier. Jamal is a fantastic soccer player. We put together his video, and I simply just told the coach, "Hey, I have a player. Can you take a look at him?" And basically, Jamal sold himself.
And so you're very proud of your brother now.
Most definitely. A lot of people say that I got the scholarship for him. I do not believe that. I think Jamal got the scholarship for himself. I just made the link between him and the coach.
You're from Ashton Hall. That's the Ashton Hall in St. Peter?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you're one of the Hines from St. Peter. Look straight into your
Yes,
camera and
sir.
say hi to everybody at home. Who's at home still in Barbados?
Hi. I believe my parents are watching, maybe my grandmother right now, and all the other family members.
How does that make you feel, though, that all those eyes are on you at the moment?
A little nervous, but they're probably going to laugh at me a little later on today. It's okay.
You're doing very well, Trey. And so we want to commend you on that. So quick question, Trey. If you were to return to Barbados right now, let's say today you landed on the island, where's the first place you'd like to go?
Chefette, obviously.
All right, look at that. Everybody says Chefette. and so therefore, what's the first thing you'd want to eat?
Probably a beef and potato roti.
You are such a Bajan. It is something else. Trey, it is our immense
a tall
pleasure.
glass of Maudie.
You know. Gotta have it. Trey, thank you so much for joining us. You've made us so very proud, Trey Hines from Ashton Hall, St. Peter. Keep doing well what you're doing. Congratulations on your master's. You're heading for your PhD next. And I know that all of the Hines family across this island, Hines are very, very proud of you this day. And they know that you will continue to represent them well. And Barbados supports you in that effort as well. So thank you for joining us, Trey.
Yes, thank you. And the Hines and the Williams family, sir.
See? The Williams as well. Thank you so much, Trey.
Yes,
have
sir.
a good day. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you so much. All right, there he goes. Very inspiring young man, one who came through the Barbados Soccer Academy. And of course, as the weeks go on, we'll get to meet even more of those very young, intrepid Barbadians who are doing great work and doing great things and using sports as a leverage for them to be able to do so. All right, let's take a look and see if we have an answer to today's Crumbs question of the day. It was quite a riddle, huh? Let's see what it is. That question: I have shelves, but I'm not a bookstore. I have a door, but I'm not a cupboard. I have a light, but I'm not a lamp. I contain food, but I'm not a grocery store. But I'm the coolest. So what am I? What is the answer to today's Crumbs? Look at that. I'm a refrigerator. Congratulations to Jeffrey Cox. Jeffrey Cox, you absolutely correctly answered our Crumbs question of the day. You riddled it correctly. A refrigerator. So Jeffrey Cox, because you're the winner, someone from Crumbs Bakery will be making contact with you to collect your winnings from Crumbs Bakery. Remember, they are delicious down to the last crumb. So congratulations, Jeffrey. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, there's so much more, plus an opportunity for you to win with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 20 minutes after 7 o'clock. As you know now, just take a look right there on your screen, right here on your screen. That's right. You will see what we're talking about now in celebration of Child Month 2021. The Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados Childhood Obesity Program is bringing greater awareness to good health and nutrition for our children. And so are we, right here on Morning Barbados. You get a chance now to win with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados right now by calling me on 228-5562 or 228-5563 to correctly answer this question. And if you do, you win something with Barbados Heart and Stroke Foundation. So your question is, what percentage of water is in a human's body? What percentage of water, look at the question, what percentage of water is the human body? Do you know? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Get it right. You're going to win with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, the Childhood Obesity Prevention. We have somebody on the phone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, fine, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. Do you have an answer for me?
I think so.
What's your answer?
60%.
60?
Yes, please.
That's the most you think it is?
Yes, please.
That's not what it is.
Oh.
Thank you for I know, but thank you for calling, all right? Thank you so very much. You came so very close, but no, that's not it. So we'll take some more calls, 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's see if you know what percentage of water is the human body. What percentage of water is the human body? Do you know? 228-5562 or 63. Good morning. Let's see if we get somebody else on the phone to get this prize today from the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados in our Childhood Obesity Prevention Quiz. Let's see if you're there. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it 99%?
You're asking me or are you telling me?
I'm telling you 99%.
You're telling me for a fact?
Yes, it is.
Are you telling me that right now you are walking around with 99% of your body as water?
Yes.
Then you don't think that's a lot of water?
Yes.
So you must go to the bathroom a lot. Just kidding.
Yes, even in the night. Even in the night.
As we all do. But thank you, that's not right. Thank you so much for trying. No, that's not at all right. Thank you. Let's try again. Let's try again. We got to have a winner. Come on. What percentage of water is the human body? And it's not 99%. It is not 60%. But you can figure it out somewhere there. 228-5562 or 63. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. What's your answer?
70%. 70.
You're positive about that?
Yeah.
Did you measure it today?
No.
Because if you measured it today, you're a little off. You're wrong today. Thank you so much for trying, though. No, that's not it. Thank you, too. 228-5562 or 228-5563. We gotta have a winner. Come on, folks. The Barbados Heart and Stroke Foundation, Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, is presenting our Childhood Obesity Prevention Quiz with you this morning. So, what percentage of water is the human body? Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. What's your name?
Shanice.
Hello. What's your answer?
75%.
You sure?
Yeah.
Nope. You're off. You're wrong. Can't work. Won't do. Wrong. In other words, thank you for trying. Let's see if we can get one more answer. As well, let's see if we can do this. Come on, folks. It's 25 after 7. What percentage of water is the human body? What percentage of water is the human body? What percentage of water is the human body? That's the question. When you win something really nice. And the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados encourage you to drink a lot more water. So let's see if we can get this one worked out. Are you there? Good morning. 228-5562 or 228-5563.
Okay.
Good morning. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. What's your answer?
90%.
90%?
Yes, please.
No, that's not right. That's wrong. Thank you for trying, okay?
Okay.
I feel so badly. What should we do? Production team, tell me what to do. Should we take another call or should we just move on? Because I'm so enjoying myself. I don't want to get the time lost. What? Let me try. They tell me, Pearson, try one more. We're going to get somebody right on this one. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes. Now tell me, you sound as though you know the answer.
73?
I thought you knew the answer. You don't know the answer. That's not right. Thank you for trying, though. But you know, someone came so close, but so wrong. The answer, by the way, is 65%. 65%. That's the answer. Do your research. You'll find out for yourself. But thank you so much for participating. You guys were fun. I absolutely quite enjoy that as well. But tomorrow, we'll have another opportunity for someone to win with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados in our Childhood Obesity Prevention Quiz 2021. A break, and when we come back, much more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
28 minutes after 7 o'clock now as we turn our attention to this inspiring young man. The question is, if you had a second chance on life, what would you do? This man had more than a second chance on life. Torian Clark joins us yet again. We didn't have a lot of time to tell the story. Torian, good morning to you, man.
Hi, good morning, person.
First of all, how old are you, Torian?
I'm 31.
See how old, you see, folks, see how young he actually is? Now, Torian, tell us your story. What happened to you?
The night of May 26th, and this was in 2016. Like everyone knows, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident, which definitely changed my life a lot. Within that same night, it was like around 3 times I could have died in that night. On the scene, en route to the hospital, and in the hospital. So basically taking it to in the hospital. That night in the hospital, obviously it was a lot of emotions. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was in a lot of pain. Had x-rays, had surgeries. Woke up the next morning actually not knowing that my leg was amputated. So being there that morning, laying in the bed, seeing my parents come in along with the doctor, there were looks like gloomy. But obviously in my mind I was saying everyone is going to look gloomy because I was now involved in a very serious accident. So that would be the case, but not knowing that the gloomy look was because the decision had to be made to amputate my foot. So before I found out my foot was actually amputated, the doctor came to me, we spoke, we laughed. Actually, probably the most laughter I did in my life. And just like the last moment when he said, but you know your foot had to be amputated, that was when I laughed the hardest because I thought we were still joking.
Yes.
And then when he lifted the sheet and I saw that I could only see like down to just below my knee on my left foot, that is when reality hit. That is when life hit really hard. Never cried so much in my life. But after all the crying, I had loads of support that I really do appreciate, especially from the church. My mom, she got the church to pray a lot, and I really appreciated that. Those who came held my hand in prayer in the hospital, along with my friends as well. By the way, I can't leave them out. They played a critical part in me getting to where I am today. But obviously, at that time, I kept asking myself, why me? That was the obvious question. Like, even at night, when I was alone with my thoughts, basically, that was basically the only question in my mind. Because during the day, I had loads of other people on the ward with me, like other younger people as well. So those were the inspiration to keep going, basically, during the daytime. So at night, when I'm alone with my thoughts, it was just all, why me? But I'm sure the population or the society is familiar with Daniel Coltrus, who's a double amputee.
Yes.
One of the nurses actually brought him there to speak to me, unknowingly, obviously to me. And when he came, and I just saw how he came in, how full of energy he was. When he talked to me, that just changed my mindset. I'm not going to say 100%, but it definitely put that push in me to know that I can keep going. And from then, I was full of confidence to leave the hospital because I wanted to get home at that even so. I didn't even want to go on the road, to be honest, because I just had fright and fear of something reoccurring again. But as the day came, I got in the car, my dad's car. I came home. It just felt natural to me to be on the road. To the point that basically like a week or so after, I even asked my dad to take me back on the scene. Something that a lot of people probably would not have done, but I did.
Right.
I also asked him to take me to see the car itself. And funny enough, while saying so, when I went to see the car, when we went into the car lot, I saw this particular car, and I told my dad and my mom, the person that was in this car or people that were in this car, if they're alive, they're like really, 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 really happy and thankful to be alive. And then my mom told me, but that's the car you were in. And when she told me that, yeah, that hit a spot. Like I went silent for a good while, to be honest. And it just made me ever so thankful to still be here, because that could have been the end of my life. But as we can see and as I can see, God wasn't ready to see me yet.
Yes, yes.
He gave me a purpose to still be here, and I'm actually utilizing that purpose now. At first, obviously, I did not know what that purpose was at all. I still kept asking myself, why me? But I found that purpose, and I found that when I started talking to people, went back to my old school, even went to the hospital, and I started speaking to people, I realized that it came natural, something that I could have never done before. Even to be here on TV right now, like this would have been something that I definitely could not have done. But this
Torian,
is just me now getting it done.
when you hear the story in your head repeated by you, how does it impact you?
It impacts me in a huge way, to be honest, because all I tell myself basically is I'm definitely more than thankful to still be alive, to get this second shot at life. And this is one that I would not waste. And I wouldn't encourage anyone who basically went through similar or worse or even just as close to waste that opportunity of life. Like seeing the picture that I can see, I even had the opportunity to travel all the way to Texas to deal with my prosthetic. So not just having the opportunity to deal with a prosthetic, but the opportunity to go to Texas, my first time ever in life. It was a very great opportunity. And this is all thanks to, let me mention, Suzanne, who now runs Stride Prosthetics. At the time, it was not Stride Prosthetics, but she gave me that boost of encouragement to actually go on and keep going, because even when I got my prosthetic, I was still down, like, it's not my foot, so
Yes.
I was not there 100%. But after all the therapy and all the sessions with her, because we now got like a personal relationship, basically, she's a very good friend. She encourages me a lot, to be honest, and I just kept pushing on.
How are you dealing with relationships, though? Because you look different. You know, when the girls see you, they're going to think, he has a one foot. You know, that's naturally what they generally say. But how are you managing relationships?
Funny enough, I got past the point of somebody saying, oh, he has 1 foot, because my simple answer would be, I have 1 foot, but I am still human, I still have life. and that should not stop me or anyone from living their life. But on that note, what made me probably this smiling person that I am right now, this was actually a trip in town during Christmas time. Like, of all times, I didn't even have a prosthetic as yet.
Wow.
And I was in town with crutches. It was a crowd, obviously, so it was a bit difficult. But there was this one lady, I never ever forget this story. As I was moving with my parents, this one lady just shouted to the top of her voice, "You got one foot, but you're still sweet." And from then, that got me going.
Yes.
So now, relationship-wise, it really does not affect me because I don't study it, because I still see myself as a human being just like everyone else with all limbs. So yeah.
I'm so proud of you, really, to reorient yourself in that kind of way. But you manage your challenges day by day because it's different. You know, the surface feels different. The surface is also different for you. And your mobility is going to be affected by your amputation as well. How are you coping day by day? How have things been adjusted around you so that you can move and manage?
Well, basically, to start out, I hate wearing shoes all the time, but it's a part of my life now. I have to wear shoes. I don't have a choice. But day to day, even from the get-go when I was coming home, my dad had me he built a ramp for my wheelchair. So from then, I was just out and about through the house in my wheelchair. Hardly put on my prosthetic at home, to be honest. It's either my crutches or my wheelchair. Most of the time, my wheelchair. But mobility-wise, going about, I believe just like me, there are a lot of challenges in and around Barbados in regards to like simple things like a sidewalk, steps, railings for a step. Those things pose a challenge, but it's a challenge that can be overcome and will be overcome by me always, because where there would always be a way, and I would always find that way. But mobility-wise, right now, I could say that I'm 100% capable of doing a lot of things that I even thought I could not have done as an amputee.
Wow, 4 years into it as well. And look at that, you called the word amputee. That means you're finding that comfort with what is. And I'm so proud of you, Torian. Torian, you know, it's a pleasure talking to you and meeting you, and your words of inspiration really mean so much to so many this morning who find themselves like you, and there but for the grace of God go I. And so today I want to thank you for joining us and encourage you to continue being as positive as you are indeed, Torian Clark. And I know the sky is literally the limit for you indeed. It will happen.
Definitely, definitely. And thank you.
You're more than welcome. Torian Clark is his name, and inspiration is definitely his game. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, just Agent Sharita. That's all I have to say. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
That break was brought to you by Charles Chocolate. Remember to enter our world. But right now, we'll turn our attention to our girl, Agent Sharita. Good morning to Agent Sharita.
Hello, good morning.
You know, I'm so heartened because the response we get to this segment is overwhelming. It's truly, people love you. They just love you. You see that smile? That's what they also talk about quite a bit. Such warmth in the morning, Agent Sharita. Wonderful having you, for real.
Good to be here. Pearson, you have to keep smiling. Based on the world's affairs, you don't know what's coming next. So this smile is my armor.
I like your armor, for real. Now, today we want to look at the Barbados Estate Agents and Valuers Association. You know, a lot of people say that exists. So, your answer?
Yes, it sure does. At the end of the day, it's the body, the defining body of realtors, property managers, and valuers in Barbados. And the beauty is that there is a body of 126 individuals there waiting to serve you. The beauty of an association is that you have people who are accountable, Pearson. So you can feel comfortable. You don't have to just choose some fly-by-night agent or valuer that you've never heard of and hope for the best. When it comes to either selling or buying what will perhaps be the biggest asset in your life, you need somebody who knows what they're doing.
So we reach out then to the association. But then how do we break it down to the individual? The association is a body of 120 some people, but then it comes down to Agent Sharita. I've chosen Agent Sharita. How do I go about deciding that Agent Sharita is the one who I choose?
Well, what you can feel comfortable about is that every agent who is in the association, we are held to a certain level of standards. You can't just roll up in our association and not be, not be made to conform to a level of ethics and morals. You have to have a moral compass in what we do. Sometimes you're dealing with very big transactions in terms of, the financial aspect. So you need to be held accountable to what are good standards and good ways of doing business. And that's the beauty of the association. Not only do we have a body within the association that deals with, for example, ethics and so forth, you as a resident, if you have a grievance, you can bring it to the association, and whoever may have aggrieved you will be held accountable in front of a body of their peers, the Ethics and Discipline Committee, for example. We have a number of committees within the association that make sure that we execute our service to you, whether in property management, whether via valuations or real estate services, to the highest standard that we can.
So how do I verify that this particular agent is a member of the association or is accredited in some way for what the service they deliver?
Well, via two means. The association has a full-time administrative assistant that you can reach out and contact her at any time if you have any queries on, the best way to handle a situation. But furthermore, we have a website, Beava Inc., and Beava is spelled BEAVA Inc., INC.com, where you can actually see a list of all the agents in the association. What's important to state is that we also deal with matters of education, training, and seminars. You want somebody that not only is reputable and being held to a high standard, but also that knows what they're talking about, that you can feel comfortable, that they have the knowledge to represent your best interest. So every year, Pearson, we are actually exposed to a number of modules to improve our knowledge about all that we do. And it could range from valuations 101, the importance of measurements in valuations, anti-money laundering issues. We know when a transaction might be looking funny and we know who to report it to. Let me see what else. We also have matters of, when it comes to those seminars, even property management issues, best practices, areas we should focus on when it comes to pricing, inter-agent connections, how to relate to one another when it comes to introducing a client, and so forth. So we have all these seminars and modules all year long. ensuring that we are our best selves when you decide to hire us.
And that's important because not everyone is necessarily a real estate agent. Everyone believes, however, that they're a salesperson, and it's not the same thing.
Exactly. And the reality is, thanks to social media, somebody might say, but I sell my aunt house, so I was an agent. You know what? Let me do it for somebody else. But then they run into trouble, you know? But the beauty of the association is that we are inviting existing agents to come and get qualified and become a part of the association. And we know that due to these COVID times, things are tough. But to show you how much we want to have you on board and embrace you in what we do, up to the end of June of this year, we're giving a 15% discount to those agents who may not be in the association as yet. And to all those past members who are a little behind in their funds, we are going to consider waiving them for you if you get on board by the end of June.
Excellent. So by the end of June, we can have a waiver or we can have a discount, but just call the association Beaver Inc. Now, I may be at the stage of entering retirement, and so I thought, you know what, let me just try my hand at real estate agent work. How do I get into the business in the first place?
Well, first of all, I think it's always good when you have an interest. When I first started, there were not that many agents. They were very tight-knit communities in terms of agencies.
Yes.
And the beauty of being on board now is that you can be a one-stop shop as I am, or you can be a larger brokerage with 14 to 15 agents. We do have guidelines as to how you become an agent, and some of that involves some study. For example, the Barbados Community College, I would have taken a real estate sales course. There's also a property management course, and the University of the West Indies also has a property management course as well. So we encourage the formal academic aspect of it initially, and then of course you are guided. If you are a salesperson right now, you know, you do it naturally, but you want to move up to being a broker where you handle transactions as your own person, you would be required to work alongside someone who has been in the industry for some time, so that you gain that additional experience and ensure that your best practices are truly best practices.
Yes.
And then, of course, you come before the association, you present your case, and you're nominated by you're endorsed by your peers as well. And that's how you get involved in the association's effort.
So as with every association, they come benefits. So we encourage real estate agents today and valuers to get involved, join the association. Now, Sharita, we had a guest on, a young man, Trey Hines, who is using sport to leverage himself in business as well. I know you have yourself been one of our national athletes. And so look at you now. And I want you to share a message for some people who are thinking sports as a springboard into something different and big is nothing to consider. Talk to that parent if you can.
Well, listen, I will say it's simple. Sports paid my way through 4 years of college. Sports paid my way through a 2-year MBA. I don't know what else to tell you.
Simple,
the proof is in the pudding.
There you go. So there is true value in sport. So when your child expresses an interest in sport, don't dissuade them. Encourage them as much as you can.
Oh yes, nowadays it's paving the way to greater pastures. You don't see anybody on the English Premier League circuit wishing that they had, sport.
Yes.
That's all I have to say.
Agent Sharita, thank you as always. 233-8888, the number to call if you need any further questions and clarity on anything. Agent Sharita, thank you so much as always. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome too. All right, 10 to the hour. We're taking a break. When we come back here, Thornwood will join us in our pandemic fitness.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Time for a fitness segment this Tuesday morning, joined now by our boy, Thorn Wood, Mr. Califit. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Kirsten, and everybody in Barbados. Hope you're all doing good.
We're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. And next to you, this beauty in Chanel Trotman, who's a sports therapist. Good morning, Chanel.
Good morning, Pearson. Good morning, Barbados.
Thank you for bringing some beauty to our interaction this morning. Thorn is, Thorn is Thorn. Thorn is Thorn. Thorn, what are we looking at today, buddy?
Right, so the last 2 weeks you would have spoken about, people getting back into the gym, and I would have, last week I was also spoken about, as you get older, should you continue lifting? And obviously a huge part of training is getting injured. That's you're not trying to get injured, but that is always a possibility if you're not, working your muscles properly, if you're not taking your time. And today we're really and truly talking about progression. And who better to tell us about, injuries and how to mitigate that. My great friend who joined me on the OCR, not last year, year before last, Chanel Trotman.
Chanel, I want to start with, because, my first foray into the gym, the first time I ever went into the gym, I thought, let me lift some weights, right? Build the body up. And then after a couple of days, I thought, it's working. I could feel the muscles. I'm feeling tight. Not realizing I had injured myself because I felt the pain, So it is so important as one begins to take on a fitness regime that you pay attention to how the body works and what's right for the body so we avoid injury, right? So what are some of the ways that what are some of the things we need to be mindful of before we begin to work out?
Before you begin to work out, first of all, the first thing you probably want to do, especially if you're new to this, you can contact a professional. Reach out to a professional, even if you do not want to pay the professional at the moment, or even if you don't think that you can afford it. You need to look into avenues where you can look, because YouTube is free. There's a lot of information there. However, there's good and there's bad. But also always try to reach out to a professional, engage their services, ask them questions, and then the next thing you need to do is pace yourself. As you said, you went in, you tried to lift the weights and you thought it was working, but the key is to pace yourself. You don't want to start lifting heavy. You want to focus a lot in the initial stages on form. So quality over quantity. Or what I want, a lot of the times what you're going to do is, a lot of the times we could leave out the weights to begin with. Get proper form. And proper technique, that comes from speaking to professionals, engaging professionals in speech. So when you go in the gym, there are trainers around, because if you're paying for the gym, there usually trainers around, and you can talk to them, find out if your form is correct, if you are doing the exercises correctly, and those basic things help you to avoid injury in the first stages of getting back out there. Pacing yourself and working on quality over quantity.
I know, Thorn, you always talk about warm up, don't just jump in cold, warm up.
Yeah, most definitely. Just adding to what she said earlier as well in terms of, getting a professional. I've actually had a friend who started the gym, and this was her on her first day. I won't call her name, but she was on the tricep extension machine, and she literally her first day. And because she has a high pain tolerance, she ended up doing 100 reps. This is no cap. So what ended up happening was obviously her muscles were extremely fatigued. She ended up developing, unfortunately, ended up developing tendonitis and stuff like that. Doing much better now, because now she knows the information. The thing about sourcing information on YouTube is that, or any other platform, that sourcing an individual who can sift through that information and tell you what is good and what is bad. A lot of times, like she said, in terms of focusing on form and equality, depending on where a person is at, I don't even let them touch weights on the first day. Like, I'm going to teach them how to do like a good morning, or I'm going to teach them how to do a barbell squat. I'm going to use a broomstick, because I can see you. You may not be able to see yourself, and then even if you can see yourself, You may not know what are the telltales to look for to say, okay, well, my knees are pronating, which is your knees are going past your toe in the actual skill. Or maybe I need to sit back. Or maybe I need to do some anterior pelvic flexion, which is, putting my pelvis forward, depending on the exercise. And then there's so many things to look for on a biomechanical level, not just on an exercise level that you may not be aware.
So, Chanel, for those at home, little mommy or granny, daddy, whomever, and they're thinking, they tell me to keep moving, they tell me to exercise, they tell me to do all of these things, but they didn't tell me how to avoid the injury. So let's speak to that section of our society. We're doing it from home to avoid injury.
To avoid injury. Okay, so at-home workouts can be very simple. During the lockdown, I find you see a lot of videos of people trying to be very, very complex, somebody trying to outdo the other. But what's starting? Going for walks. Walks help to increase the cardio, especially for that older demographic that you mentioned. You get up and you go for a walk. If you're not accustomed walking, start at 15 minutes. See how that 15 minutes treats you, how you feel the following day. If you tend to recover quickly, you recover easy, and it wasn't hard on you, you could go for a 30-minute walk the next day or a 20-minute walk, and you just feel it out until you begin to see what works best for you.
So don't push yourself too hard, Thorn. Don't push yourself too hard. Take your time. Easy to this. So now you understand. Now you understand my hesitancy, right? Don't push yourself too hard.
We know that. We always have the beginner circle. There's always a beginner circle. And then, added to what you said as well, is it's all about what are you trying to achieve. Keep it simple. Start small. Get as progressive as possible. And important part is take notes. Take notes. If you do have a personal trainer, they're not continuously taking notes and taking assessments. I don't want to. Well, it's the wrong thing to do, and it's something that they should look into. You want to be tracking progress to see where you are, because when you see where you were, you can see where you can go. If I'm 50 pounds successfully for let's say 12 reps, then maybe I can add on another 10. I can add on another 20. But if I don't know,
I just go from there.
How am I supposed to accurately continue on to the next level?
Thorn, why do we always run with the time, Thorn? Why do you do this to me all the time? Let's mark this to be continued.
Give us more time.
Your fault. Thank you so much, Thorn. Thank you, Chanel, for joining me this morning.
You're welcome.
Let's mark this to be continued next time, all right?
All right.
Thanks you guys. All right. That's it for today, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.